Hello everyone and welcome to Drop Tales. I'm Allie and today we're going to talk about my battle plan for the JLPT N2. Why battle plan? Well, I think this is going to be the most difficult test for me. For example, for the N3, like I live in Japan and use Japanese every day. So the N3 is more like getting the grammar basics and the necessary kanji into my head. Where with the N2, there's actually a lot of kanji and grammar points and words that I don't use very often, like at all. I just have to work really, really hard. As usual, please take a moment to hit the like button and subscribe if you like my video. It really, really helps me a lot and I greatly appreciate it. My main study items for the test include both digital and physical books, study apps on my iPhone and my iPad, and just normal reading materials in Japanese. The JLPT covers kanji and vocabulary, grammar, reading comprehension, and listening. Thankfully, I don't have to write anything or do any speaking, which I'm not too worried about speaking, but man, writing kanji is difficult, guys. And the test is multiple choice, so I just need to be able to pick the correct answer. That said, when I was a student, I was always the kind of person who wanted the highest score I could possibly get. So I would like to not barely pass. I want to be able to pass with confidence. That aside, these are all the study books that I have that are, physical study books. There are also two digital ones that I have on my iPad and my iPhone. I have both physical books and some digital books because while personally I like physical books when I'm sitting down at a desk and studying, sometimes, like if I'm at work, it's nice to have a book on my iPhone or my iPad, which I'm much more likely to be carrying with me than a big heavy book. The first thing I'm going to cover is the grammar, which will also bring up the very, very first book. This is the Kanzen Master Book for the grammar part of the JLPT N2. This is actually my very first time using Kanzen Master to study for a JLPT test. I wanted to do for the N3, but I kind of started studying late for it and chose a much easier book to crank through for the test. The good thing about this book is it is all in Japanese. The bad thing about this book is that it is all in Japanese. And again, a good and bad thing is it is so dense. Look at all this content. Like, from what I've read about this book, this covers just about all of the N2 level grammar that could possibly appear on the test. So this is definitely the most thorough study item. The downside of it is like I cannot really do a quick study session with this because while my reading comprehension is pretty good, there are still some points where I have to look up things on my phone. It just takes a little bit more time, but it is extremely thorough. I will give it that. It's broken up into smaller grammar points and they're all related. For example, this one's all related to ways to say like atore. And there will be like the super there will be the super formal like katai version and it'll say that like this is chotto katai iikata. Like you don't really see this in normal conversation. After each 2-page thing, there is a kind of quiz covering each of the grammar points. And each of these sections are grouped into like 5s. And after every 5th section, there is kind of an overall review for the previous 5 sections. So like after part 5, there's a big quiz. And then after part 10, there's a quiz of part 6 through 10. So I do like that. This is definitely my main grammar study book, though this is not the only one I have. The other book I have is actually a digital book. It's the digital version of the Nihongo Sou Matome grammar for N2. I actually used the Sou Matome grammar book for the first time when I studied for the N3 test and I liked it a lot. The reason I picked it for the N3 was because I just didn't have time to slog through a bunch of dense grammar. Sou Matome series is much lighter study-wise. It doesn't cover every single grammar point, but it does cover all of the main ones, and if you study with it, you will pass with a good score. One thing I like about it is it has little illustrations at the top of the section that kind of gives you like a setting, like it might be a grocery store or some shopping, and there will be a little dialogue between the characters. This kind of helps it stick in your brain a little bit better, I think. And then instead of like 5 sections like the Kanzen Master, it's in 7 daily sections. Like you're supposed to study a part every day, and then on Sunday or whatever your 7th day is, that will have a big overall week review. So instead of groups of 5 sections, it's in groups of 7. Because it's lighter and easier to study, it's much easier to pull out my iPhone or my iPad when I have downtime while I'm out of the house and just quickly study or review a grammar point in the book. I do highly recommend it. It got me through the N3 grammar part fantastically, and it has English explanations, so you probably don't have to spend quite so much time pulling out your phone to check the grammar information. In addition to the Solmatome grammar book, I also have the digital version of the vocabulary book on my iPhone and my iPad. It's not my main vocabulary study. My main one is an application for iPhone called Sticky Study. I've used this application for years, and you don't have to use this one specifically. I think any flashcard method, whether you like paper flashcards or some sort of application or digital flashcards, I do think you need to use flashcards to get through the hundreds of vocabulary for this test. One thing I like about Sticky Study is that you can put a target date to finish studying the whole set, in this case the N2 set, and it'll tell you about how many cards you need to study and clear a day to meet your deadline. So that takes that little bit of time management out of my hands, and I don't have to worry about it. That said, flashcards don't give you a lot of context. Like Sticky Study does have an example sentence, but that's it. That's one reason why I kind of like the vocabulary book. The N2 has some words that I don't use much in everyday life at all. Maybe I'll see it on the news or read it in the newspaper at work, but I don't use it very often. So it's nice to have the book. Like the grammar, it has like the image at the top with a setting and maybe some sort of story, something happening, and they're using these words. Then of course it's got the word list at the bottom. In addition to just a word list, it'll have a lot of like phrases, and again, quizzes and everything where you have to poop out the information. My brain is breaking. So while I don't think a vocabulary book is required for me, it is definitely a nice supplement for me. Vocab is not something I really just sit down and study, so I like having my vocabulary stuff all digital. So anytime I just have time to kill, I can pull out my flashcard app or open up the digital book and do some quick review. Right now, I don't have a kanji book at all. This will probably change in the near future, but right now I'm mostly just focusing on WaniKani. WaniKani is a paid web app put out by Tofugu that breaks down the kanji into its radicals. That pretty much gives the radicals a meaning, and then you use those radicals to remember the kanji, and then it's all SRSized, so you can review things. And if you can't tell, I like it whenever I don't have to organize my study. I like it when just apps tell me, hey, you need to study this thing. It's been a while. I actually had a free account for WaniKani back in 2016, but barely used it. When I came to Japan, being pretty illiterate was not fun. Well, you can get by, but it gets kind of frustrating sometimes. And in January 2019, I got a 1-year subscription, and man, did that make my quality of life so much better, being able to read. So after 1 year of using WaniKani, this last January, I took advantage of the lifetime account sale and upgraded to a lifetime account. It is expensive, like it's not cheap. You can get a free account and do the first few levels for free to try it out, and then if you like it, get a paid account. But because it's expensive, I can't just be like, go get an account. It's pricey. But in my case, all of my study is self-study. I don't pay for any Japanese lessons, and WaniKani is cheaper than like a year of language school or language lessons of any kind. So it was worth it. And for me, it had a huge effect on my life. That said, wanikani does not break the kanji down at the JLPT level. So I'm probably not going to finish studying the N2 kanji by July. I will probably buy some sort of Japanese kanji study book for the N2 in the near future. If anyone has a recommendation, feel free to comment below. Last time for the N3, I wound up getting the Somatome kanji book for the same reason, because it was broken down into easy little portions. And I may go ahead and go with that. We'll see. Definitely give me some ideas. That would be cool of you. Now, reading comprehension. I think the best way to improve your reading comprehension is definitely to read. Read, read, read. Read all the things. Like, you know, when you were in elementary school and the teachers would take you to the library and you had to read all these books and like have a reading record, and then during summer vacation, at least in America, during summer vacation, you had to, well, you didn't have to, you could join the library reading club and get cool prizes for, you know, spending time reading and have all this encouragement and like improve your reading because you're reading. It's like that in your second language too. You gotta read. That's the only way you're going to get better at reading. So my main method of raising my reading comprehension is just reading Japanese media. In my case, I really, really, really like manga and light novels. So I started reading light novels last year in 2019 when I started wanikani, because wanikani actually also has a forum, which you do not need to be a paid member to join. You can get a free account and you have full access to the wanikani forums. There are reading clubs on the wanikani forums. Some of them are more casual, like we can discuss this book kind of forums. And then they have the more organized ones like the absolute beginner, the beginner, and the intermediate reading clubs, where everyone votes for a book and divides the reading portions up by the week. And everyone kind of progresses through the book together. And there's like weekly forum, what do you call them? Pages, where we can discuss the story or ask any grammar questions for things we didn't quite understand and would like more of an explanation. It's just a lot of fun. Doing self-study Japanese in Japan can get a little bit lonely. So while like in English in America, I probably would not do this sort of reading club so often, it is fun to have kind of like the community support of other people who are trying really hard to pass JLPT exams or to just learn Japanese. I like the camaraderie there. That said, I do have something to practice the reading comprehension questions. And while it's not a book specifically for that, it's kind of an overall study book. This is the Patan Betsu Tete Doreru book. So pretty much it's a drill book to practice the basic patterns and the kinds of questions that'll be on the JLPT exam. I use this for the N4 exam, the N3 exam, and now for the N2 exam, and I think this is my favorite overall practice book. It covers both kanji and vocabulary, listening, grammar, and reading comprehension all in one thing. As you can see, it's got the the CD here in the back for the listening, and the reading comprehension is here in the book. This is my primary overall study item. I'll often take this to work to practice at school during my breaks. After each thing, it also has the answers and then like a breakdown of the stuff that was in the questions. Like here's a breakdown of the grammar. It is all in Japanese though, but I think at the N2 level, that shouldn't be too much of a problem. And then of course, if you're still confused, you can use the internet to find more information in English. And the last book that I use is this is the official JLPT N2 practice book. This is actually also available for free online, but the book itself is quite cheap. It's only 700 yen, or it's about $7. But this is a full practice test. I still have 6 months before the exam, so I might try to do this every 2 months. I might only be able to do it every 3 months and get in 2 times. So I actually use this as a mock exam. Like I'll sit down and do the timing and use it to judge my current ability. I'll do it the last time about a week before the actual exam so I can know what my weak point is and spend my last week that I have to study focusing on that weak point to try to level that up a little bit. On my previous exam, pretty much when I use this as my mock test, this has been my only listening practice. Even though the other book, the drill book, has a CD, I've actually never done any listening exam in the drill book. Maybe I'll change that for the N2 because I've heard that the listening part of the N2 is a little bit more confusing. Yeah, since my primary language at home is Japanese, because my husband's Japanese, I live in Japan, and my coworkers all speak Japanese. I usually don't worry too much about listening comprehension. However, if you're studying for listening, definitely have some sort of CD to practice the drill and just, I don't know, listen to everything you can in Japanese. And that's it. That is my study plan for the JLPT N2, which I will be taking in summer 2020. I feel like this is the Olympics for my JLPT study. Jeez. So are y'all taking the JLPT exam this summer or, well, this December? If so, please comment below with, what study materials you're using. And if you have any suggestions, for example, a good way to study kanji for the N2, feel free to tell me, and I would love to try it out. And maybe some other people who are checking out the comments can pick up some cool tips too. Let's help each other out. All right, so let's do our best. Good luck.